Yeah, so it's great to be here in Teams Fest today. Actually, there are so many online conferences nowadays, but for some reason, Teams Fest is really one of my favorites. So super nice and awesome to be here today. So I will be telling the next 40 minutes about minimizing the human error and maximizing the human collaboration with the help of Teams, and especially with the help of Teams as a platform for modern teamwork. Just a couple of words about myself and myself and I before we start. So I'm from Finland, as Turak said, the same country as Vesko. And I'm leading modern work at a company called Medlake. It's a daughter company of a company called Futurize. But I'm super active in the community. I love to speak at conferences. Of course, I would love to see you all live in conferences, maybe next year again. But I'm also an organizer into user groups. So we have this Teams Community Finland, and we have our next meeting on next Monday. But there's also this new user group we have with a couple of my colleagues. So it's called ACM Teams Europe, and it focuses on everything around change management and user adoption. So if you're interested in those, please check our Twitter account or check our website. Our next meeting is in a couple of weeks, in the 20th of October. Cool. But I think that's enough about me. If you have any questions, comments, you can use the live chat. Let's see if I can keep myself up to date in the chat, but I can of course get back to your questions after this presentation as well. So let's begin. I have 4 parts in my presentation today. And first, we are going through some theory of psychology. Then we are taking a look about technology and what does Teams platform mean in my presentation and what does it mean for me. And then we have maybe the most interesting content. We have lots of demos and then like just a short wrap up of everything we have talked about in this presentation. But let's start with the psychology part. So to err is human, of course, we maybe know that. But when we are thinking about working context, words are hard for me. Working context, errors can also be pretty expensive. And errors occur mostly when we are doing some kind of manual processes or when the process is not clear. So instead of just paying big bucks for all kinds of errors and the time that goes to solving those errors, we should maybe work smarter and not harder. And in this presentation, I will talk about how we can work smarter in a employee perspective and in a like a normal non-coding citizen employee perspective. Because the harder part here also refers to coding, being very technical person. I'm not a technical person myself at all. And for example, all of my demos are something you can make right within Teams with out-of-the-box functionalities. And you don't have to know nothing about the power behind the Power Platform, for example. But when we are thinking about return on investment for our, for example, user adoption projects, Teams implementation projects, I usually talk with my customers and then they are speaking in terms about performance. We want to have better performance, or we want to be more effective, or we want to be more productive. Actually, if you know the song, this Fitter, Happier, More Productive is a Radiohead song in 20 years ago or something like that. And then the Pokemon picture right here is a bit newer one. But the point here is that even though we are talking so much about being more productive, being more effective, I think there's one factor that matter more than those performance issues. And the factor is employee experience. And when we are talking about Teams as a platform with our employees or with our customers, I think the platform term, for example, Power Platform term, can sound pretty technical. It can sound that now we are doing hard stuff, like very serious business. We are saving money. We are being more effective. But I'm a softie. I like employees. I like that everything is easy. Everyone are happy. I'm happy when my employees, my end users are happy. And that's why I would also like to discuss about Teams as a platform with my customers in a way that it will not only make the working days more effective, more productive, because of course it will, but it would make the working days easier. And the employees would get a better sense of meaning, like better sense of value, that they are valued, that they matter. And in that way, they can gain better employee experience. And I also strongly believe, and there are also some studies about this, so it's not just my beliefs, that better employee experience in the end leads to better customer experience, which of course leads to more money to the company. Okay, that was my ranting about being happy at work. Now let's go to the technology part. So I've had quite a many like these teamwork development workshops around until latest year. So we sit down with a team, live or usually nowadays online, and then we start discussing what kind of tools are you using in your internal communications? Do you have any challenges? What do you do with those? And then of course I will ask that, are you using Teams? And of course the employees answered that, yeah, we are using Teams, because of course the meeting itself is also a team meeting. And then we start discussing, like, it's great. So what applications, what parts of Teams are you using? And then the employees are telling me that they are using Teams meetings. We have lots of meetings in Teams. And then the employees are telling me they have lots of chats in Teams. Maybe in the chat window, maybe also chatting in Teams channels, so having discussions in Teams channels. And that's, of course, that's great. That's a great baseline for developing your teamwork. But as we all know, or as we hopefully all know, Teams is so much more. And now I would like to challenge all of you for a bit. And when you are talking about Teams with your clients, or talking about Teams in your company in general, think about Teams not just a replacement for Skype. So not just a chatting tool, not just a meeting tool, but think about Teams as a platform for everything. And I try to be funny. This is like a Apple Mac reference right here. But actually I Googled about this a couple of weeks ago. And when I Googled Teams as a platform, one of the first results that came was actually Wikipedia. And that was pretty funny, because of course, if it's in Wikipedia, so it must be official. So in Wikipedia, it says that Teams is a platform for communication, collaboration, and also for application integration. And I think that's like may sound scary. It may sound pretty big thing to do, but maybe we could think about it a bit easier way. So this is maybe the situation we had maybe a year ago or in the last spring. So if we think about the application, extending Teams, all those different possibilities than just the chat and meeting in Teams, we have, for example, these zero gravity, super simple, super easy things we can do. Like everyone in Teams could add a tab in your team. Then we have this lightweight options, which is, for example, you can use connectors, bring messages from Yammer to Teams. You can use some messaging extensions that there are some lists already. Or also a pretty lightweight option is to create a flow from a template. But of course, the longest list is here in the right-hand side. So we have this heavy-duty developer stuff, where we go deeper into coding, deeper into creating real power apps, bots, adaptive cards, or even whole custom applications, custom SharePoint web parts. And that's pretty technical, even for me. But I think this scene has changed. If you see my super cool morph right here, wow, it's magic. Morph is the best. So I think in the last couple of months, the emphasizing has turned from the deep dive right-hand corner to the zero gravity left-hand side. So at the moment, it's much more easier, for example, to utilize some ready-made Power Automate templates. There are so many more templates ready to use than there was like 6 months ago or a year ago. There are also more messaging extensions you can use right directly from Teams. For example, the super popular creating task from a Teams message is one of examples. You really don't need any coding for that one. And of course, then we still have the lightweight options. I put the Power Automate both in the zero gravity and in the lightweight category, because with the templates, it's zero gravity. But if you have to edit the template or do some tips or tricks with the Power Automate, then it's maybe a bit more lightweight. I also discussed with myself that should I put virtual agents in the zero gravity or lightweight alternative? Because if you just create a Power Virtual Agent from Teams, it's really zero gravity. But when you want to edit your bot, maybe then it's more lightweight. And of course, you still can code. We still need developers, and the need for coding hasn't disappeared. It's still there. It's still valid. We have still these heavy-duty things we want to do that no citizen developer can do. But I think it's changing. It's becoming easier, and utilizing the Teams as a platform concept becomes easier for every employee. Cool. Now I can breathe for a while, and then we can go to my demos. So I have 4 different topics in here I wanted to talk with you about today, and it's these 4 ones. It's these 4 topics, let's just say. So first of all, I want to talk about tabs for teamwork. I will show you a few different tabs you can utilize, tell you about a few real customer cases about different tabs. And then I have some bots for you. And this is actually super interesting for me, because if you would have said like a year ago or 6 months ago that I would do a presentation slide in a user adoption presentation with the word citizen developer chatbot, I would have laughed like so much, because there was no such thing as a chatbot for like normal employees. But now there is, so it's here in my slide, and I'm happy. And then we are going to take a look at a couple of things you can do with Flow or Power Automate. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we are discussing a bit about governance and how maybe you think it's not your business, but maybe it should be everyone's business. Cool. So let's go to my demo in here. I hope you can see my cool demo team in here. So first of all, I promised to go through some things about tabs. And now when I'm looking like in this direction, I'm looking at my other screen where my demo screen is. So don't mind that. So as we all may know, Teams is the hub for teamwork. And for me, it means that everything should be in one place. So everything you do with your computer, everything related to knowledge work should be found inside Teams. And of course, it's super easy if you are mostly using Office 365 programs, for example, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. But of course, you can also embed lots of third-party applications in Teams as tabs. One super cool thing that came from Ignite a couple of weeks ago was, of course, this SharePoint home application. And as you can see, this right here is my demo intranet. So I have made an intranet in Teams. And I would say that the intranet in Teams and the SharePoint intranet are not in competition with each other. But instead, the SharePoint intranet and Teams are better together. So now when they announced that there will be this whole super cool new home site application for Teams, this means that you can, in the future, I hope it will be soon, you can add your SharePoint intranet as an application to your team. So you can see your SharePoint here in the left-hand side of your Teams as well. Nowadays, you can only add SharePoint pages or SharePoint sites in your tabs. For example, here in our HR channel, let's see if it's this one. It will load, take a bit to load, but you can add already SharePoint sites in your Teams, but you, for example, won't see the navigation in your SharePoint site, and you don't really have any way to go back and forth with the sites. I see it's not loading, so let's not try to look at that any further on. But another thing you can do with tabs is, of course, lists. And lists are also a pretty new thing that came a couple of weeks ago. And here, for example, I have this strategy conference list created in my strategy planning channel. And of course, lists, they are not a new thing. You could have done lists in SharePoint for ages. But when our work is inside Teams, so who will go to SharePoint and create lists in SharePoint? Because that's in totally different place. But instead, nowadays you can just click on the plus sign, choose lists, and create a list. You can actually also utilize templates for your lists. For example, this one, for this list, I utilized a ready-made template Microsoft had in here, and it took me like 2 minutes to create the list, and then like 2 hours to create all the demo content in my list. But for example, you can use this for very simple ways in, here we have this strategy conference, so internal conference we have in our company. We have the session names, speakers. I think like Roald and Solomon have photos, but maybe they are too shy to show them right here. And this is very visual way. This is very easy way to gather information, edit information. And now you may also think about if you have some planners at the moment, because maybe some plans would work better as lists. So that's one thing you may want to reconsider. Cool. Then I want to show you one basic Microsoft tab you can utilize because I think it's a pretty underrated alternative to add files as tabs in your Teams. For example, you could add a PowerPoint file, a Word file, or a PDF file as a tab in your team. Let's take this VIP slide in our Helsinki office channel. And here you could very, very easily add, for example, some kind of instructions, some kind of basic static content, which you want to also be very easy to edit. So you could, of course, add a SharePoint site in here, but when you add the Word or PowerPoint, you can also easily edit the content right within the channel, right within your Teams. Cool. Just a couple of more things about tabs before we move further is that when you click the plus sign, you may have a very different set of applications in your team. For example, it might be that your IT admins have restricted the applications so that you only see the Microsoft own applications in here. Here are like lots of very interesting, very weird at sometimes third-party applications. But maybe if you are an IT administrator, you might want to reconsider if all of these third-party applications are visible in here. Cool. So one last application I want to mention is Planner application. And this is also new from Ignite. And if you were with us in the previous presentation, he talked lots about the new Planner and task management in Teams. But I will just simply show you that if you go to the 3 dots in here, you may find a new Planner application in here already. And for example, in here, it will collect all of your plans, all of your tasks in one place. So instead of using your plans by going to all of the channels, to all of the tabs and searching for your tasks in the different channels, you can actually just go to the Planner application or Tasks application and see everything collected in just one place. Cool. Okay, so now we have talked about tabs. So tabs are for teamwork, yay. And then let's go to bots. I don't know how many of you maybe remember or uses Whobot. I think Whobot is a pretty underrated bot because I think Whobot is super helpful in lots of large organizations. Because when I'm speaking with communications department about intranets, or when I'm talking with employees about intranets, one of the most sought after requests in intranets is a phone book. So where can I find information about certain persons? Or where can I find information about a person who knows something about something? And Whobot is there for you. Of course, your ID has to be up to date. AAD has to be up to date for this to work. But you can, for example, ask who knows about polar bears. And then Whobot will tell me that, oh, myself, I know about polar bears. Cool. Or then I could, for example, ask who was in the meeting about expeditions. And then the Whobot will tell me, sorry, no one recently in a meeting recording expeditions. Okay, but if you haven't tried the Whobot in your organization, I think that's also a really small thing, really simple thing that can ease up your employees' working life and working day pretty much. Okay, and then we have the super cool thing. And we have several deep dive sessions about Power Virtual Agents in Teams Fest already. So I'm not going also not into deeply technical details in this session. But I just want to mention that you can find it in here and maybe show you what can you do with it when you are just a normal team member. So if you already have a virtual agent in your Teams environment, you can find it from the application navigation. So if you just write Planner or write Power Apps or write Power Virtual Agent, you can find it from there. And it says chatbot in 5 minutes. And I think it was pretty optimistic, but actually it was true. So I clicked on the start now. I haven't tested anything like this before. I know nothing about chatbots, but I was able to create a functioning chatbot in just a few minutes. And when it comes to teamwork in Teams, because this is a teamwork presentation, it's good to know that the chatbot you create in here will only work inside one team. So it's tied to the team context. And I have one bot in here I created yesterday, and the bot is called Adam. And I think naming your bot is, of course, very important because the name has to be something like close to human, something you are familiar to talk with. And now when I go to Adam, let's edit him because he's not in any channel right now. He's just here in my preview phase. So this is the one thing you can see. Some of these are in Swedish because my Teams was in Swedish when I created my chatbot. And then when I changed my Teams into English, so some of these parts are still in Swedish, but it will maybe at some point it will change. But here is our bot. Here is Adam. And then I can, for example, ask, what can I? Sorry, I'm not able to find a related topic. But I could, for example, ask, when are you open? If Adam would be a shop. And Adam is happy to help me. The Power Virtual Agent in Teams has quite a lot of these ready-made templates you can utilize. Of course, they all are in English. So no help for Finnish people, no help for Swedish people. Understand this one. But if you speak English, if your organization is in English, it's very easy just to try because with the you can set up this virtual agent, a chatbot, really in just 5 minutes. But of course, it's not perfect. If I want to have cake, the chatbot doesn't understand me, so I have to edit the discussion template for a bit. Excellent. Item has been added to your cart. Thank you, Adam. But I would really like to see some real-life use cases for these virtual agents in the near future, even especially now when they are inside Teams. They have been around for like a half a year already, but now when they are inside the hub of our teamwork, I think you really easily can think of some kind of real-life use case for these as well. I think maybe Vesco already has some kind of cool use case for this. Okay, so let's go to our next demo topic in here, and it's all about Power Automate and Flow. So this is one example I created in just a couple of minutes without knowing anything about Power Automate, without knowing anything about flows. So we have this social media channel in our intranet, and in the social media channel we have this flow which brings me all of the tweets in Twitter which has the hashtag TeamsFest. And you could utilize this in your company. For example, that you can bring all tweets that has your company mentioned, or all tweets that has the company name inside the tweet. And this is something I made like in 2 minutes because this is my first flow ever. And it's not that pretty. You could make it much more prettier. You could, for example, add the links, add the pictures, etc. But this is one way to show what a normal employee can do in a couple of minutes, especially now when Flow and Power Automate will also come to Teams. So at the moment, you see we have this Flow in here. It has the new Power Automate logo, but it's still called Flow. The Power Automate version, the newer version, will also come into Teams, and then you can maybe create new flows inside your Teams a bit more easier than you can at the moment. Okay. But then I have another example about Power Automate for you. And for that, let's go to our team and let's go to our HR channel again. And here, this is a real life process done with some of our customers. But now I will show it to you in PowerPoint because this requires a bit more knowledge and a bit more technical skills, and I'm not there just yet. But I will tell it to you so you can get a hold of it. So the use case in this question is that you have a email inbox and you will get mails to the email inbox. So it's a shared inbox where you have several users for the same inbox. And in this case, it is a recruitment box. So you will get open applications via email to the email inbox. But of course, this could also be any kind of shared email box system. For example, IT ticket system or some internal HR system or whatever you have in your company. So the recruitment process is just one example of this one. And I have to say that if you are really testing this for recruitment alternatives or any HR related stuff, please be sure you go with the GDPR. So we don't have any offenses about the names and any other personal related information. But the current process in many companies is that we get the applications via email. So people send us emails with their applications, and then we are manually processing our emails. And maybe the responsibilities are unclear. So has someone already answered to this person? Who is responsible for this kind of recruitment process? Shall we invite them to interview? What if it's already third interview, etc. And we send so many emails around this one single topic, so around this one single application. And that also makes the go-through time super long. But instead of this email chaos, we could start with the same kind of process. So we have the shared email inbox and we receive emails to the inbox. But instead of just doing this manual email process, we could create a flow which brings the emails to a channel in Teams. Then we can, of course, utilize adaptive cards if we want to make it super fancy. It requires a bit more technical skills as well. But just a simple flow which brings the email to the Teams channel. Then you can utilize, for example, the adding task to planner alternative you have in Teams to make all the responsibilities clear. And this logo, by the way, is adaptive cards logo. And just with a few quick automations in Teams, we can make the responsibilities clear. we can make the go-through time much shorter, and in the end, everyone, of course, are happy. So this doesn't require that much piloting, that much testing, just one person who knows a little bit what he or she is doing. So super simple steps to automate some very manual and error-friendly processes in your organization. Cool. And now we have time for our last demo item, which is governance. And governance is when I hear the word myself, I'm like immediately falling asleep. It's super important topic, but for me, I'm just a normal employee. I don't care about governance. I just want to do my job. I want to do it easy. I want to do it better. So I think, for example, that we can ease up the governance issues, the governance, the whole governance thing with some simple tricks inside Teams. And one thing that just also came a couple of weeks ago are Teams templates. So of course, you can utilize your own Teams templates. You could have done those for many months and years ago already. But now there are already made templates in your team. And when we are talking about governance, it might just be some super simple things. For example, what kind of channels you have in your team? Are you using private channels? What kind of applications do you have in your tabs in your team? And these ready-made templates can be a super simple answer to many companies. So that, hey, instead of building your team from scratch, you can utilize these templates to create a team which already has these things you need and want in your team. But just a one word of wisdom in here. The ready-made templates, of course, are pretty American, and maybe they are aimed for maybe pretty large companies. For example, here in the onboard employees template, we have, for example, a tab or app for Yammer communities. And if you are a small company, and by small company, I mean under 5,000 people, I don't know where you would need Yammer. You have Teams and it's enough. So maybe you don't need Yammer in your own onboarding employees team. And the other thing, I really don't know why, but it has wiki in almost every template. And as you know, if you create a new team in Teams, the wiki is always there. One pro tip for you all: don't use the wiki. Use OneNote instead, because wiki has no version history. If you delete the wiki, it's gone. Your information is gone. So when we are thinking about governance, you could prefer using team templates instead of creating a team from scratch. But take a look at the ready-made templates. And if you are an IT admin, you can go to your admin center and create own teams that are really suitable for your own company, and have all these tabs and channels your own company needs. Okay, I have 1 minute of my presentation left, which is awesome because I only have my wrap-up things to go. So let's go back here in my presentation. Let's have our thumbs up. And this is a slide where I gathered many of those demo things I showed you just right now, and also a couple of other things. For example, that team can have up to 25,000 team members in the future, which is just great. So actually, when we are thinking about Yammer, maybe you can be a 25,000 employee company and still you don't need a Yammer. But if you want to know more about these new things from Ignite, Vesku has a great, super long blog post about all of these. So you can go and read Vesku's summary about Ignite. And then two blog links more. So for some reason, all of these are like from Finnish people, of course in English, but from Finnish people. Maybe we are just so awesome. But Jukka Niiranen has wrote an excellent blog post about Teams as a platform. It's a bit more technical blog post, and it's also pretty much about Dynamics, because Jukka is a Dynamics MVP. But it's a great blog post. You should go and read it. And also Laura Kokkorinen has written an excellent blog post about Teams, extending Teams with custom applications. And that one is not technical at all. Maybe some technical parts in here as well. But if you are working with Teams, and if you are speaking or thinking about Teams as a platform, I think Laura's blog is also a must read. I will paste those links to the chat in a minute as well. Cool. But hey, this was my 41 minutes of my presentation for you today. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for attending to my session. I will share those links in the chat just right away. And please give me feedback. It's always great to have some feedback so I can do better in the future. And we still have lots of more sessions to come, so join these as well. Thanks.